Wait, where's the explosion? It's a chunk of rock. Rocks don't explode. Welcome to Primary Technology, the show about the tech news that matters. We got some AI news, a bunch of people leaving Apple. Alan Dye, the guy behind Liquid Glass, he's going to Meta. Bending Spoons is becoming the Thanos of the tech world, buying every company. OpenAI said code red, they need to develop faster. And we're going to do Apple products ranked, but actually accurate. This episode is brought to you by Framer, Gusto, and Shopify, and of course, all of you, the members who support us directly. I'm one of your hosts, Stephen Robles, already worked up from the pre-show talking about iPad, but I'm joined once again by my friend Jason A10. How's it going, Jason?
It's very cold. It's very, very cold, Stephen. But
you had a snowstorm last week.
We had a huge snowstorm, and then we got more snow this morning. So it's been a little bit of a discombobulated morning.
You walked through Narnia just to record this podcast.
I did. I'm going to post a picture of my morning commute later, but I'm using my phone right now as a camera, so I can't do it.
Yeah, no, don't do that. Did you have any idea where that quote is from? Listener Mike actually suggested this. It is a movie I've seen. Zero idea. I've
not seen any movie where they talk about that. I mean, I would say it's not like Armageddon or Deep Impact. Okay.
Close. Very close. It is the movie Greenland, starring Gerard Butler. Another disaster movie.
Is that a real movie?
It is a real movie, and I have actually seen it. And it's actually a pretty good disaster movie, all things considered.
Okay, I'm going to write it down and then not watch it.
Greenland. Okay, thank you. Greenland. But thank you, listener Mike. That was a good suggestion. I did enjoy that movie. All right. We finally hit 400 5-star reviews in Apple Podcasts. Thank you all for doing it. We hit the big 400. Thanks to JJDub1313 from the USA. Said we're a prime example of a great tech podcast. I like that play on words. That was slick. Stokes is stoked from the USA. Battery percentage on, Jason Point. Phone in dominant pocket. My point. Right? Isn't that my point?
I think that's just a loss for everyone.
No. Steven Sizemore from Orange Park, Florida. Fellow Floridian. It's her favorite tech show. Battery percentage off. And he spells Stephen with a PH like me. Although, you got to tell me if it's pronounced Stefan. Send me an email. podcast@primarytech.fm. And we want to keep going. Next year, let's hit 500 5-star reviews. And in that review, tell us, do you eject your SSDs and hard drives before you disconnect them from your Mac? Jason and I were talking about that in the pre-show, which you can listen to if you support the show at join.primarytech.fm. So we want to know that. And one last follow-up. Keith Supian commented in the last YouTube video. We were talking about burst mode on the iPhone and how to do it because it's become strangely obtuse, like how to do burst mode. You can hold the volume up button, Jason, and that's burst mode.
Yeah,
in the camera.
I did discover that because on the iPhone Air I couldn't actually get it to do the thing you said that it would do.
Really?
I dragged that button everywhere and it just kept
diagonal.
It just kept recording video, and I was like, maybe there's a setting. And then I accidentally hit the up thing, and it started the button started counting. I was like, "Oh, it's taking pictures. This is amazing."
Yeah. So volume up also gets you burst mode on the iPhone. All right, a bunch of people leaving Apple, and we have to get to that. But before we do, recaps are out. Namely, Spotify Wrapped is out, so you can see your top list there. Apple Music Replay is out, and YouTube launched a recap. And there's been several people tagging us. I want to thank Andrew Clare. He posted Primary Technology. He was in the top 2% of viewers on YouTube. And so several people have posted that Primary Tech and my channel was in their YouTube recap. And so, yeah, thank you so much for listening and for watching. That's pretty cool. Tag us. I'd love to see who has Primary Tech in their YouTube recap. Did you get yours yet?
No, I tried because I wrote an article about this, which I think we're probably going to talk about. And I couldn't get a screenshot from my YouTube recap. So it was a bummer.
It took me, I just got it late last night. I got a recap, but the problem is I have like 7 or 8 channels connected to my one Google account. So I opened the YouTube app and it was like, your recap is ready. And I was like, oh, awesome. And then it said, your number one video is 3D printing. And the second one is Fortnite videos. And I was like, wait a minute, this is not me.
Not me.
So that is my middle son's account that he uses to watch some videos. And so I was like, okay, hopefully I get one for actually my channel. And it did. And unfortunately, like, my channel is my number one watch channel. And I don't sit there and watch my own videos. I do sometimes like have it playing in the background, or if I'll listen to it to make sure there was no errors. But I didn't like my recap because it was like, I don't want to put myself out there as number one. That's weird.
That is very Alan Dye of you.
Oh, wait, we're going to get to that, buddy. But anyway, so YouTube recap, it's rolling out. In the U.S., it's rolling out this week. Internationally, it should start rolling out next week. I am hoping crossing my fingers, although it's not out yet, so maybe we're not going to get it, hoping for an Apple Podcasts recap. Other apps like Overcast and Pocket Cast do a recap. Have you gotten a Pocket Cast one yet?
Can't look at my phone. Yes, I think I did. Although I got very confused. I know this wasn't your point. Sorry to hijack this, but
that's fine.
They rolled out an interface redesign, and I got very distracted by that because now your filters are playlists, smart playlists. They rolled out smart playlists and everything. So I was like looking for the recap when I did that article, and I got super distracted because I'm like, this is so cool. I love all this. And then I forgot to go back and look for my recap. So,
well, if you, Pocket Cast has not, like, you can go to your profile tab in Pocket Cast and always see stats either way. And you can see like how long you've listened since the beginning of using Pocket Cast and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, podcast is where that's been my main app for a little while. So I'm hoping they would do a podcast Wrapped. That would be nice, but who knows if that's coming. But we kind of collaborated on our own little Wrapped because
I send you random text messages and you're like, this is the greatest video idea. I'm like, hang on.
It was. Jason sent me this. We were talking about Wrapped. And then you had sent me this text, and it said, well, we were talking about the Apple ranking from the Vergecast, which is, we're going to get to that. You said Apple should do a screen time Wrapped. Just tells you which apps you use the most. I said, Jason, that's a brilliant idea. And I knew that there was an action in Shortcuts that lets you pull screen time data. And so I made the shortcut, and Jason actually wrote about it, which was wonderful. You linked to this podcast. You linked to my YouTube short. Thanks for linking it to everything. But yeah, so I created a shortcut, and what it does, I discovered late last night while I was tinkering with it, that screen time only saves your last 30 days of screen time data, which honestly I think is not great. I feel like it should go back further than that. But you can pull the last 30 days of data and get the most used apps through that in the shortcut action. And so what I did for this shortcut was basically times that by 12. So if the last month of usage, it's like if it's your typical usage, like in the last 30 days, then the year calculation should be fairly accurate. So it calculates a year and then actually uses Apple Intelligence image generation to create an image like a Spotify Wrapped. And you get an image that shows your top 5 most used apps in the last 12 months. And it tells you how many days you've been on that app, how many hours, and how many minutes. So I'll link Jason's article and the shortcut down in the description, but I think this is going to go viral. We'll see. I just posted this morning.
And I want to say one thing. I'm going to because I've used this, obviously. That is my device. That image. I use Steven's
If you're listening,
shortcut.
It says Instagram is 10 days, 2 hours, and 22 minutes in the last year.
It's totally true. There's no surprise to me. I use Instagram all the time. Yeah. So same thing. Safari, I use it all the time. But this is from choosing all devices, which is actually fine because the only ones that could have been influenced by that are Safari Messages and Spark because I have them also on my Mac or whatever, right? Like Instagram doesn't exist on my Mac, right? It's fine. But when I chose, if you start using a new app, so for example, I was using Gemini a ton this particular month because they released Gemini 3 and I was doing anyway. And on if I chose only the iPhone Air, Gemini was much higher up, right? But I was like, I'm going to use all devices because it's actually, I think, a lot more accurate. This is like, this is true. This is definitely how I spend my time.
Yeah, and mine was, I'll share mine in the chapter artwork. I'll switch between ours. So you can see Jason's first, and then you'll see mine for my iPhone. But Instagram was top on the list. And then Shortcuts was second, which I was happy about. It was like Instagram, Shortcuts, and then like Threads and Bear and something else. And so I was happy to see that. I mean, I don't know if I'm happy to see Instagram at the top. But anyway, it's there. The shortcut is, you could download it at shortcut.bot/wrapped, or I'll put that link in the show notes too. But a fun little experiment. Thank you for the idea. That was great. We'll see if it goes viral on Instagram and beats my AI recipe puller from Instagram. That is shortcut actually has 2 million views now. It's my most viewed piece of content ever. So we have to talk about 2 people left Apple this week. First one, I think this one is expected, maybe lesser news, but AI chief Giannandrea, who in the past months transitioned from like the head of AI, Apple Intelligence, and the voice assistant to some other role, and his like department moved under Craig Federighi because he was more independent, I guess, before. But anyway, he's leaving, and early 2026, he's retiring, and so other people have now been put in place. Former Microsoft AI researcher Amar Subramanya is set to take over as vice president of AI at Apple. He will report to Craig Federighi and will lead foundation models, ML research, and AI safety and evaluation. So John Giannandrea out. It seems like less. Well, I don't know. I don't know what else you have to say about it, but I feel this is less contentious than the next one we're going to talk about.
Yeah, well, I mean, so he was basically over the fall he lost the Siri part. They moved the Siri part of it under Craig Federighi, but he was still leading the foundation models and the ML research and all that kind of stuff. And he came from Google. Like, he was like one of the, I don't know, top figures in this space. I just think the problem was he was more like a scientist, and what they need is a product. Yeah. They just need a better product. Right. And so there was just a disconnect there between his skill set and what they actually needed. And so I don't think I don't think that it's necessarily an indictment of him and his skill set. However, there does seem to be a thing where when Apple brings in people from the outside, they don't tend to last very long. That was true with Angela Ahrendts, who was the head of retail for a while, who was the CEO of Burberry. And my understanding is like she left on good terms, and she was there for a little while, and she replaced, was it John Browning, who was there like less than 18 months or something like that. It was not, he did not do well there. He tried to basically turn, the Apple retail stores into like a CVS or a Walgreens or something. Like it was just not a good fit.
Not good.
It was like upsell everything. It's like, I could go to Best Buy if that's what I wanted. But anyway, so it wasn't super surprising that someone who came from Google and then was moved into a role where they have to like create a product did not end up lasting very long.
So he's out, but the even more breaking news, this was just yesterday, is that Alan Dye, who's the head of Apple Design, is leaving for Meta. And this is the weirdest departure, I feel like, that I have witnessed. Previous high-level departures like Scott Forstall because of possibly the Maps fiasco and other disagreements with Steve Jobs, And I saw Federico Viticci post like, it's Scott Forstall's time. He should come back and bring back green felt to Apple. I don't know if that's true or not, a good idea or not, but so Alan Dye, he was the vice president of human interface design since 2015. So he's been in this position for 10 years. He's been in the Apple keynotes. He's the one talking about liquid glass redesign this past WWDC. And he was in previous keynotes. I think he talked about the dynamic island when that came out with the iPhone 14 Pro or 15 Pro. And so he was, been at Apple for a long time, was the head of design. He's leaving for Meta, but in the weirdest way. So Stephen LeMay is taking over at Apple in this position. Stephen LeMay is a 26-year Apple design veteran. So someone who's been at Apple a long time is taking over. But the response to Alan Dye leaving from like social media, like when I posted it, has been universally like good riddance kind of feeling. And I thought this was one of the best threads posts. This person says, to commemorate Alan Dye moving from Apple to Meta, here's one of his best quotes. And it's a quote on liquid glass.
You can't even read it.
You can't even read it because like the right half is on like a sunrise or whatever, and it's just totally blanking out. So that was a brilliant thread there. But also like Mark Zuckerberg posted about Alan Dye, like the moment, and Mark Gurman at Bloomberg is the one that broke the news, which supposedly Apple gave Mark Gurman a statement about it. But Mark Zuckerberg then posting on Threads about what Alan Dye will be doing at Meta starting next year. And I feel like that feels super quick. Like even though people have left Apple in the past and gone to other companies, it has not felt this contentious. I don't know if that's the right word, but so I'll link Zuck's thread in the show notes as well. But he says, today we're establishing a new creative studio in Reality Labs led by Alan Dye, who has spent nearly 20 years leading design at Apple. And he goes on to say what this new studio will do, talking about hardware, human-centered, talks about glasses, and also that Alan will be joined by Billy Sorrentino, another acclaimed design lead from Apple. And so, I don't know, it just feels like Zuck kind of not bragging, but it's kind of weird that he's just talking about Alan Dye the day it's announced he's leaving Apple. And then, as you sent me, Alan Dye posted on his Instagram stories just like a Steve Jobs quote. He's posting
Bloomberg article.
Posting an article of a Bloomberg article. Like, it just feels so. Doesn't it feel weird to you?
Yeah, I mean, this is not a typical Apple departure by any means.
Right.
Like, this is not how people leave Apple. Johnny Ive did not post the article to his Instagram. Does Johnny Ive even use Instagram? I'm not really sure. I mean, and I follow Alan Dye because he actually posts quite a few cool things in his story. He just does a lot of cool. He goes to all like the runway shows, and he's just very into that scene or whatever, and it's just interesting to see. But like, this is not how people leave Apple.
Yeah.
You didn't see anything from like Phil Schiller. I mean, technically he's still hanging out on the roof, I guess. But even the other people, like Angela Ahrens, when she was head of retail for a while, when she was leaving, you didn't see her tooting her own horn and also just posting about it and where she's going. And for Alan Dye to use that quote, the Steve Jobs, the implication is he was such a success at Apple, and now it's time to move on to something else and even better to see what's next. And I'm like,
to be clear, the Steve Jobs quote that you sent me from Alan Dye's story says, quote, "I think if you do something and it turns out pretty good, then you should go do something else wonderful, not dwell on it for too long, just figure out what's next."
Yeah.
That's a quote from Steve Jobs that Alan Dye.
I don't think Steve Jobs was referring to liquid glass.
Right.
And just think about the contrast. You already mentioned it once. Think about the contrast between the dynamic island, which is one of the greatest software interfaces, in my opinion, of like the iPhone's history.
Yeah, it's good.
And liquid glass just on par. Like, come on. You did one good. He should have left after the dynamic island if he's going to use that quote. Because seriously, it was amazing. And liquid glass is I would not say it's amazing. It's fine now in general. Like, we've all gotten used to it enough. But I promise you, people who update their software still today are like, what the heck is wrong with my phone? Why is it like this?
I see people complain about it a lot on social media, but like, there's no way that Alan Dye or that like Tim Cook or people at Apple knew Alan Dye would be leaving at DubDub. I feel like they probably would not have made as big a deal about liquid glass if they didn't think the guy behind it and the guy in the keynote, namely Alan Dye, talking about liquid glass for 20 minutes, was going to be leaving 6 months later. And so to me, that shows like this was probably a pretty quick departure. And there's been lots of news about OpenAI and Meta poaching people from Apple, most from Apple's AI team. And they're going to OpenAI and Meta working on superintelligence or whatever. And now Zuck is bragging about 2 people from Apple's design team going to Meta. And so it seems like in the last few months that Meta's maybe just turned the dial and is just offering tons of money to these people. But also like, people were saying maybe this will make Meta's apps look better. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, and also he's going to a division of Reality Labs. Like,
right,
he's going to be doing hardware.
Ray-Bans, like the Ray-Bans Meta or what the
Also, I think that the Ray-Bans already have a industrial design language because they're Ray-Bans.
Right. I guess
somebody else already did that.
And maybe they'll make first-party stuff. Maybe that's the idea.
I don't think so. I don't think they can. I think that the reason that people buy those is because they are Ray-Bans. They're chunky Ray-Bans. But like,
what is the Orion glasses? That's the code name, right? The glasses that they showed off. Maybe Meta's first-party Orion glasses will be designed by Alan Dye. Anyway,
I don't know. I think this is not Sam Altman partnering up with Johnny Ive. Let's just be clear. Mark Zuckerberg and Alan Dye. But I think there's an interesting dynamic here at play. Like, Mark Zuckerberg, there's a part of me that thinks he is so mad about app tracking transfer, and they even they've even gotten past it. Like, the funny thing about it is ATT was devastating for Snap, but it was not devastating for Meta because they were able to just basically work around it, and they track things differently. They don't have like conversion tracking necessarily, but they just have so much computing power behind it that they can do so much predictive stuff that like it's fine. But I feel like he's just so mad at Apple that he's just like, I have infinite money and no one can tell me that I can't do this. Right. So I'm going to just start taking people. And it's like, he's playing a very long game. And it just feels like we're watching a thriller movie where you do, it's like you do when it's like,
I know what you did last summer.
Well, no. I know. I'm thinking
you
about
released liquid glass. I know what you did last summer.
I'm thinking about what's his name. Who does Christian Bale, like the Bruce Wayne, and he's in that cave, and he's like, he's climbing out, and it's like, you don't know.
Dark Knight
it's like
Rises.
what you do to him now. Just wait and see what's going to happen later.
But also, when you just made the Johnny Ive Sam Altman comparison, it does feel like maybe Mark Zuckerberg sees Ive and Sam Altman, and he's like,
I need
want
me one
that.
of those.
I want to make a San Francisco B-roll short film with me and some design guy walking down the street.
Is Johnny Ive Jr. available? I mean, we'll find out. Alan Dye's fine.
Yeah, we'll take the B version, whatever. Anyway, so Alan Dye's out. We'll see. A lot of new blood at Apple just by necessity because people are just leaving and getting poached. So
I mean,
so we'll
other
see.
than the dynamic island, is there anything consequential that Alan Dye is known for?
Well, how responsible was he for the hardware design for the last 10 years?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think so. I think that was Evans Hankey, right? Who also, by the way, is like moved on to something else. Is she at OpenAI with Johnny?
Maybe.
I think she
don't
might
know.
be, actually. So anyway,
I don't
I
know.
think it's probably good for Apple. And the reason I say that is, say whatever you want about Alan Dye's design chops. Just the things that he's posted in the last day tell me a lot about his personality and probably the way he feels about himself and his relationship to Apple and his team and everything. And I think it might be better for them to not have that.
Yes. He comes across, I think you said it in the pre-show, high on his own supply. kind of
Extremely.
thing. And if you were to see the general public reaction to liquid glass, you would think someone would gauge their self-view a little. Anyway. I don't know.
You
We'll
would
see.
think that like the fact that Apple had to completely roll it back in the second beta
Right.
and then
then
gradually put it back and then put a switch, like a
There's
toggle.
switches, there's sliders for the clock in
There's
iOS 26.
there's literally a toggle that says I hate Alan Dye. Tap here and it's like boom, it's gone. And then he left the company. Yeah.
Disable Alan Dye.
Did you see
Eject.
Gruber posted about this app called Alan.app, which all it
Yes.
does is draw a border around the front facing window? It's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so Alan Dye's out. So we'll see in the next few years what happens with the Apple design. But I want to go through these next few things fast because we have to talk about iPad and The Verge's Apple product ranking.
We
but
have to talk about iPad.
I need you to help
There's
me
no new
understand.
iPads, just so people know now.
No iPads. Is bending spoons the new Thanos in this? I don't know if you're not familiar. We've mentioned bending spoons a few times because they keep acquiring things. They acquired Evernote. They acquired Vimeo. They're on track to acquire AOL in the first part of 2026, and it was just announced this week that they're going to acquire Eventbrite. What? Why? What is Bending Spoons trying to do? Get all the like second and third tier internet services to what? I don't even. What are they going to do with Eventbrite, AOL, Vimeo, and Evernote?
I don't know. I will say, I personally think most people. So they also like own WeTransfer
I'm about to pull up their website
and
'cause
something
I'm-
else. I
yeah.
can't remember.
I'll
Vimeo,
pull
yeah.
it up.
Most of the reason that people have super strong feelings about Bending Spoons is that they just massacred Evernote, which was at the time an extremely beloved app. It was so good at what it did. It was the first app I can remember because I used to do two things with. I used to organize writing and all that stuff in it, but also it was like the first place you could take a photo of a receipt, save it in Evernote, and it would OCR the whole thing. Like,
OCR, yeah.
It was so good at that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's terrible. I don't even like. I no longer pay for it, and I exported all of my stuff, and I don't even have it on my devices anymore.
Yeah. William
Here's-
Gallagher, who at Apple Insider co-host, he used Evernote like full time for a long time, and then when it changed, he was not happy.
Yeah, and I interviewed the CEO at the time a couple years ago, and I think it was right before Bending Spoons bought it, and I was like tempted to be, and I think I actually remember this conversation online with William Gallagher. It was like, maybe it'll be okay, and he's like, nah, I checked. It's not going to be okay.
It's not okay. They also, so Bending Spoons, Evernote, Komoot, which is like a travel thing, Meetup, Remedy, StreamYard. They acquired StreamYard a couple of years ago. They also own WeTransfer, and then now Vimeo, AOL, Eventbrite. What are they? They're not like an investment firm.
I mean, they're just they just buy up these brands and products, and they're just, it's like scale. This is not super uncommon. I just don't think they're very good at it. Right.
Well, and they also on their website on the About page, they also say we developed the technology to power them. It's like all these were products before you bought them.
Which
Well,
one did you
develop
make?
any- yeah, you didn't make Vimeo's technology and Evernote, the Note app. I don't know. It seems odd.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good thing. I mean, I don't really care about Eventbrite. Literally, like,
No, I don't.
whatever. You can have Eventbrite. If I'll trade you an Eventbrite for an Evernote any day. Like, seriously, Steven, if we ever get successful, 100%, we should just buy Evernote back from them, because I feel like that is a product that deserves to survive. But right now, it's just no.
We will be the Iron Man to Bending Spoons' Thanos. Once we get enough people going to join.primarytech.fm supporting the show, we will reacquire Twitter and rebrand it to Twitter. We will reacquire.
Wow.
We said that last week, didn't we?
That's true.
Yeah,
What do you think that would cost us?
About $40. I think about $40. I think if we get there. Okay. So we got Twitter. We'll buy back Evernote and save that. And I don't know. You let us know, listeners. Leave us a 5-star rating and review, or just email us. What else should Primary Tech acquire to become the Iron Man?
I'm just writing down this offer. December 4th, $40. Steven has it in his pocket.
$40.
Okay.
What was like when Perplexity was like, we'll buy Google Chrome for $70.
If you have to get rid of it, you could just give it to us. We'd be cool. We're willing to take it on.
Listen, I think we could run it. I think me and you could probably run Twitter. Just like by ourselves.
I mean, it feels a lot of times like no one is running Twitter, so I feel like
saying.
probably we'd be fine.
That's what I'm saying. All right. Also, so OpenAI, Sam Altman issued a code red. Code red. I don't know if they're on a submarine or something, but they're saying code red, and everybody's catching up. And so, with Gemini 3 that was announced or released a couple of weeks ago, and everyone's saying it's so good and all this kind of stuff. We're going to talk about Runway ML in a second, because they released a new video generation model that the tides are turning in the AI race. And so Sam Altman declared code red earlier this Monday, urging staff to improve its flagship product, ChatGPT. And in a memo reported by the Wall Street Journal and The Information, I'm reading from the Verge article here, I'll link in the show notes. Altman said the company will be delaying initiatives like ads, shopping, and health agents, and a personal assistant, Pulse, to focus on improving ChatGPT. This includes core features like greater speed and reliability, better personalization. I think it's good that OpenAI is feeling a little heat, and that it's not just kind of like the runaway only player in the AI space. Yeah, I still think they have a pretty significant lead. I mean, I think ChatGPT is still just like the de facto chatbot, and especially outside the tech world. I don't think normal people are thinking about Gemini. But then again, Gemini shot up to like the #1 app in the App Store once Gemini 3 launched. So, maybe it is more mainstream than I thought. But yeah, code red from OpenAI.
Yeah, it's really funny, the feedback loop between these two companies, because the reason Gemini 3 is so good is that when ChatGPT was introduced, Google declared a code red. Right. They're like, we should do this. We have all the technology. We have the stack. We have all of the infrastructure. We have all the compute. We have infinite money. Why don't we have a good product for this space? They're just like a bunch of guys randomly. I mean, they have Sam Altman who can raise a bunch of money. That's great. But like, they did this thing. Why can't we do this thing? And then now we're here like 3.5 years later and they're doing the thing. And I feel like it's just interesting that now Sam Altman is like, hold on, they caught up, guys. We got to figure it out.
Wait a minute.
There is an interesting piece. I do think people care about having better models. That's true. I also think though that, well, Google is an interesting case because Google is the only other company that has the distribution. Because like Claude has sort of a niche market, and the CEO even recently said like, we're not worried about it because we're not catering to consumers, we're catering to enterprises, and so it's a different type of a thing. I think ChatGPT could be short-sighted because what will keep people using ChatGPT is if it has more ways that it can make their life easier and better, which are all the things they just said they're not going to do. No one's leaving ChatGPT version 5.1 is good.
It's good.
And it may not be the best, but I don't think people are jumping between $20 a month subscriptions to Google and like to Gemini and to ChatGPT just because one of them got a little bit better. It's whether or not they have better features and things that will, like, for example, with Gemini, one of the things that people like is the Nano Banana Pro, right? Like it is insane. It is just literally really unbelievably good. And so that would be a reason, but that is not just because the models were better. It's because it has a way of using it that's better. And so I think OpenAI might regret postponing some of those things, because I think what the next thing people really want are what you just described they're not doing, which is the virtual assistant, the shopping assistant, all that kind of stuff.
Right. Which I want to talk about. I don't know what we're going to talk about in personal tech and the bonus episode, but I want to talk about Black Friday and shopping because I used AI a bunch this past weekend, and I think to great effect. But I don't know. I finally downloaded Raycast, there's always a comment on pretty much every one of my YouTube videos where someone's like Raycast. Like I could be talking about anything. I could be talking about AirDrop on Android, and they're like Raycast. So I'm like,
it's
okay,
like your viewers are playing a drinking game where someone posts Raycast in the comments and you take a shot.
Well, and so I finally did, and I downloaded Raycast. Yeah, I took a shot of Raycast. Crazy, you can pay Raycast $20 a month, and you get access to whatever models you want. You get GPT 5.1, you get Gemini 3 Pro, you get all the Anthropic models. You get plus images, like you get access to all those models for $20 a month. I'm like, I don't know how they're doing that, and Raycast has really good shortcuts actions, which I am now playing with because I wanted to use Gemini 3 Pro in shortcuts to kind of compare it to how ChatGPT has been functioning. And you can just use it. You can use the Raycast action, select the Gemini 3 Pro model, and go for it. And so I'm going to do a video on it eventually. I need to keep tinkering with it, but I am falling down the rabbit hole because Raycast is also like clipboard manager, it's text expander, it's everything. Like it's a bunch of things. So I'm going to keep trying. And there's an iOS app, so you get to use the same tools on your iPhone and iPad. But anyway, 9to5Mac also reported, as I have others, that ChatGPT ads are probably coming, which the code red may mean that ads are delayed or not coming. But it was originally Engadget reporting that ads will be coming to ChatGPT, and 9to5Mac is saying like, well, iPhone users can avoid them because you can have ChatGPT built in, to Apple Intelligence, but it's not really the same thing because as for me, like I go to the ChatGPT app for a lot of things. Like I had to replace my mom's tub faucet the other day, and I went to the ChatGPT app, took a picture, asked it a question. That's not something you can really do with the built-in ChatGPT function. You can't take a picture and send it to ChatGPT. You can build a shortcut that does that, but then it's hard to have a conversation back and forth through that kind of process. So I still feel like the ChatGPT app, when ads are put there, like people are still going to use that app. Even if someone has an iPhone and Apple Intelligence, like they're going to keep using it. And I am discovering more and more people do not have Apple Intelligence on their device because they have an older iPhone, because every shortcut that I've been releasing has Apple Intelligence, and I get messages every day like, this doesn't work on my phone. I'm like, I'm sorry, buddy. I don't know what to tell you. So, Apple Intelligence. Which, sorry, Nate. I sent Nate the screen time wrapped shortcut. I was like, hey, can you test this real quick? I thought he had an iPhone 15 Pro. And he was like, this doesn't work. I said, what phone do you have? He said 13 Pro. And so I was like,
Nate,
man,
come on.
I'm sorry. So anyway, we'll support the show enough. We'll also upgrade my friend Nate. We'll upgrade his phone. All right, one more thing. We'll take a break, and then we'll get to the Apple's product ranked. But the Sony A7 V camera was announced. There were reviews that came out. The Verge had a review. I'll link that. But I also watched Gerald Undun's review. He does amazing camera reviews for years, very in-depth. And so the A7 V, the reason why it was interesting to me is because I use the A7 IV for everything. You're seeing my A7 IV camera in this podcast. It's what I use to record all my YouTube videos, everything. And the one thing about the A7 IV that is tempting me to upgrade is the overheating and the runtime. If I'm doing a long video, like if I'm showing off 20 shortcuts, I might be recording for like an hour plus, and my A7 IV is just recording 4K 30 that whole hour. That heat symbol will come on in about an hour 10, it just shuts off. And then I have to wait like 10, 15 minutes for it to cool down and then start recording again, which kind of stinks. And so the A7 V, Gerald Undun, I'll put his review in the show notes. He did multiple tests, and the A7 V can run like 5-6 hours recording at 4K 30, 4K 60, and it's like, that's pretty sweet. Then other people said, well, just get an FX3. It's like, well, the Sony FX3 is $3,000, or more than that. It's like $3,500. This is going to be about $3,000 when it comes out this month, when you can order it. So anyway, I'm tempted by it. I'm probably not going to get it, but I'm tempted by it. But then you texted me. I don't know. Can you say what you said?
Yeah, I'm just going to review. I'm going to get one and review it. Like that's fair to say. Like
I've been using an A7 IV every single day for the last 3 years, but they sent Jason the A7 V to review. That's cool.
Listen.
That's cool.
I don't know what to tell you, Steven, except for that.
I didn't ask.
You didn't ask.
I didn't ask for it.
That's one thing. And two, I have just spent the last month reviewing Sony cameras.
That is true. Did you ever talk about the A1? Like what it felt like? Oh yeah, you talk about how fast it could take pictures.
Yep. I talked about it on the show. We talked about that experience, and I'll probably still write something about it. All of the photos that I published of the experience
F1
at the
race,
F1 race were with the A1 Mark II. That's what it was.
Yeah, A1 Mark II, yeah. The newest one.
Yeah.
The newest one.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So A7V, if you were in the market for a mirrorless, it also has something called like a, I forget what, the something mirror, where it's basically silent, taking photos, partially stacked sensor.
Yeah, which is a thing they stole from Nikon, by the way, but that's fine.
Sure. But it's now in the Sony cameras.
Did you see the Instagram post from Sarah Dietschy where she explains the matrix of Sony, which actually was super helpful for me because when I saw that this came out, I'm like, I don't actually have a clue how this fits into, and it is interesting. Sony's strategy is so interesting compared to any of the other camera makers, especially Nikon that I'm familiar with, because Nikon is like, they have one thing. It's like a camera and there's slightly different specs, whether you go up or down. Like the Z9 is the full, the medium format one. The Z5 is the cheap consumer one. The 6 and 7 and 8 all have like in between different things. But like, this is crazy to me, Steven.
So Sarah Dietschy, friend of the show, she was a guest on the show a few months ago. She did make this graph, and it is pretty great. Basically talking about like, what is your priority? Is it hybrid, photo, video, APS-C, and then by budget? And I mean, I would largely agree with this. I don't know as much about cameras as you or she, but the A7V is like that. If you want a hybrid camera, that's like middle of the road, like that's the one. She put an FX2.
Well, the FX3 is farther down. So what she was basically saying is hybrid is if you want to be able to take really great photos and really great video. And an important point she mentioned is that when you go across the grid from left to right, all of those cameras have the same basic sensor, essentially, the same size sensor. So when you go down to video first, like the FX3 only has like a 12 megapixel sensor. So you wouldn't want to use it to take photos. But if you're just shooting 4K video, you don't need anything more than that. And so that's why I think those are on different levels, because I think the FX2 had like a 30 megapixel or 33 megapixel sensor. So it isn't really like the greatest for video because, like you mentioned, well, that's why your A7 IV is going to, like, you shouldn't be using an A7 IV if what you want to do is to shoot video, because it's a 33 megapixel sensor. It's too much information.
Well, and I originally got it because it was my only camera at the time, and I wanted it to take photos and videos. But now I actually got an A7C II a few months ago for B-roll out of the studio and for photos, which is in her like hybrid, budget level. And I do love it. Like, I think it's a great, like the perfect camera for that. Maybe I should look into an FX3.
Well, in the A7CR, which is the camera that the other camera Sony sent me to review, is like a 60 megapixel camera. You would not use that for shooting video.
No. Photo first. Yeah, photo first. But this is this is pretty brilliant. So I'll link this Instagram post in the show notes as well. If the show notes get cut off in Apple Podcasts, they don't get cut off in Overcast, which I saw Overcast is actually the number 1 app of our listeners, Jason. I was looking at our stats a little closer, and Overcast is 1, Apple Podcasts is 2. It's close. It's like 53% and then like 40-something% for Apple Podcasts. So it's very close. But show notes don't get cut off in Overcast, but in Apple Podcasts, sometimes they get cut off. You can always go to primarytech.fm, get the full show notes on the website, or you can even subscribe. We have actually an email list that all it does is send the show notes via email every day after the show posts. So if you want to get the show notes by email so you can get all these links in an easy place, that's in the episode description. Just subscribe to our newsletter there. That just does show notes. It's the only thing it does. It just sends the show notes. So, all right, I'm getting worked up again because I'm thinking about the Apple products ranking, but we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by Framer. Most design tools are gated behind a paywall, but not Framer. With Design Pages, you get a full-featured professional design experience, including vector workflows, 3D transforms, image exporting, and more, completely for free. Framer already built the fastest way to publish beautiful, production-ready websites, and it's now redefining how we design for the web. With the recent launch of Design Pages, a free canvas-based design tool, Framer is more than a site builder. It's a true all-in-one design platform, from social assets to campaign visuals to vectors and icons, all the way to a live site. Framer is where ideas go to live, start to finish. And Framer is free, full-featured design tool. And when I started making websites, which I did for many years, I mean, I was coding HTML, I was writing CSS. You don't have to do any of that anymore. You don't need coding knowledge. Framer is your entire workflow in one place. No Figma imports, no messy HTML. It's faster, cleaner, and more efficient. Framer stands above the others because it's not just a site builder. Framer is a true design tool that also publishes professional, production-ready sites. So if you're ready to design, iterate, and publish all in one tool, start creating for free at framer.com/design and use the code PRIMARY for a free month of Framer Pro. That's framer.com/design and use promo code PRIMARY. That link and promo code is down in the description. Framer.com/design, promo code PRIMARY. Rules and restrictions apply. Our thanks to Framer for sponsoring this episode and our friends at Shopify. Starting your own business has a host of challenges already. I know I'm now an independent creator. I'm trying to run a business. And speaking about making websites, that was always a challenge, especially when you wanted to figure out e-commerce. How do you build that into your business? How do you do it online? So it's easy to manage if you're a solo creator or business owner, and easy for your customers to buy your stuff. Well, Shopify is the answer. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., from household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started, all use Shopify. I've built many websites with Shopify and helped clients build their Shopify store. This way they can get up and running quickly, and it's easy to manage. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates, and Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand style. And it also helps accelerate your content creation. Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. So get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you and easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. So turn your big business idea into cash with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/primary. Go to shopify.com/primary. That link is down in the episode description, shopify.com/primary. Our thanks to Shopify for sponsoring this episode. And we're also brought to you by Gusto. Gusto makes HR easy. I've worked in many corporate things in the past, and having different HR services, they're not all created equal. You want one that is easy to use, powerful, and does everything you need it to, especially if you're a small business or a solo business owner, and that's Gusto. Small business life means hustling and figuring it all out, a lot of times all on your own. I get that, but you don't have to spend your evenings guessing at tax forms or tracking down onboard docs. Gusto handles all of that, so you can spend your time on the parts of your business you actually love. Gusto is online payroll and benefits software built for small businesses. It's all-in-one, remote-friendly, and incredibly easy to use, so you can pay, hire, onboard, and support your team from anywhere. There's automatic payroll tax filing, simple direct deposits, health benefits, workers' comp, 401k, and unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price. No hidden fees, no surprises. So save time with automated tools built right in, like offer letters, onboard materials, direct deposit, and more, and get direct access to certified HR experts to help support you through any tough HR situation. It's the #1 payroll software according to G2 for fall 2025 and trusted by over 400,000 small businesses. So try Gusto today at gusto.com/primary and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's 3 months for free payroll at gusto.com/primary. One more time, gusto.com/primary. That link is also in the show notes below. And our thanks to Gusto for sponsoring this episode. Real quick, before I go off about the iPad, Runway ML released a new video generation model, video and audio. It is scarily good. Did you see this video at all? Did you see this at all? Just if you're on YouTube, watch this. I'll also link it in the show notes. But this is all generated by Runway Gen 4.5. And while some of it's kind of like crazy looking, the realism, especially when there's people, I couldn't tell. Obviously when it's crazy things like a kangaroo pushing a baby stroller, you could tell, oh, that's weird. But some of the shots, especially with people, it is very, very good. If I saw this on TikTok or whatever, it would be difficult to know if something's real or not. There's some grotesque things too, so I'm going to stop sharing it right now. They show a zombie losing his skin or whatever. So anyway, Runway has a new model. It looks wild. I think it looks better than Sora 2. Whether this is a good thing overall or not, we've talked about a lot in the past, but there can be even more hyper-realistic AI video out there, and so we'll see.
Well, and this is, okay, quick thing. I'm sending you a link that's totally not related to that. So I'm going to just vamp for a second so you can see what I'm sending you in case we want to talk about it. But I have this problem. Remember how we said a couple weeks ago that I'm not a good journalist because I don't like to talk to people and I'm not curious about things I don't already know about.
Admit when that's your main job.
And the reason is I have a problem being curious about things that were not already on my radar. If I don't discover it on my own, I'm not very good at being pitched. And one of the things I was recently pitched was a sit-down conversation with Runway when I was in Portugal.
Really?
I'm almost positive that this is true. What I'm saying is not just a lie. But I was like, I'm not really sure what I would do with this information, and so I just didn't like make the effort to go through and do it. And then I see stuff like this, and I'm like,
Jason, oh my word! I would reach back out to them, have them come on the show. We should talk to them about it.
Okay.
We could talk so much about that.
I have to figure out like where that email was, but 100% I'm like, yeah, shoot, I really should do a better job. I should do my job better is what I'm saying.
Please do. Please do. Also, this is the one case that I've seen, we've talked a lot about AI generated video and media literacy and whether people can like tell this stuff apart. But I do want to share one example where I was like, okay, this is a good use of AI. And this was just an Instagram reel, and someone posted it where a grandson used AI to take old photos of his grandfather's life and animate them. And so the grandfather's looking at these photos of him when he's like a little boy, with him and his wife on their wedding day. And these were all still photos at the time that were scanned in probably. But the grandson used AI to animate them. And you could tell it's very moving. The grandfather gets emotional. And like this, great. Like I do feel like this is a really meaningful use of AI that helps someone maybe relive moments of their life that, you could remember things from a picture, but you couldn't experience it like this. And so it's such a double-edged sword because I do feel like, man, this is awesome. Like this is heartwarming. But then you one scroll away and you have a kangaroo with a machine gun underwater, and it's like, well, I guess we get both. There's not a way to get one and not the other. So I don't know. I thought that was heartwarming though. I'll link that below too. All right, what did you send me here? You sent me App Store winners?
Yeah, they announced them this morning. I don't know if we care.
Well, they announced it this morning.
I think this just came out. This
just came out.
I just got an email that they announced the winners of the 2025 App Store Awards.
2025 iPhone App of the Year, Temu. Not TEMU, but TIIMO.
Yeah, don't know what that is.
Don't know what that is. iPad App of the Year is Detail. I don't know what that is either. I guess that's a video editing app. That's kind of funny because...
Listen, I'm sorry. Go ahead and keep reading them.
I'm clicking away from that article. I'll have to read about those apps.
Strava was the Watch App of the Year, which that's fine. HBO Max is the Apple TV App of the Year?
No. Alan Dodd put this list together.
On his way out. He's punking us.
That's what that was. That's I don't know about that.
Listen, I don't agree. There were some games that won. One's from Panic. I don't agree with anything that doesn't say that Flighty is the iPhone App of the Year.
It's been iPhone App of the Year probably for what?
Every year should be because it saves my butt so many times.
I mean, there's a lot of good apps out there. I still have 2 home screens set up with apps that I've been meaning to do a video about that actually did Liquid Glass well as it can be done. But anyway.
I was a little worried when I ran your shortcut that it was going to be like, you use Flighty for 72 days because I used it a lot this last month for my travels. Sure. And I thought if it extrapolates that, it's going to be like, all you did is spend the entire year on a plane.
But it doesn't count like live activities and stuff.
I know.
So yeah, or background. Like if you...
Which is good.
Yeah. All right. We have to talk about Apple products ranked. So here's the context. The Vergecast released a special episode. David Pierce and Victoria Song and Allison Johnson, they ranked all the Apple products. And not like iPhone 17.
The lines of products.
The lines. So like iPhone, Mac, iPad, HomePod. And they ranked it like 10-1. And I was listening to this episode a couple days ago. And I was largely with them at the beginning. So like, for instance, in last place, this is not the order that I'm showing on YouTube. You have to actually watch it. But in the order, they put like Vision Pro as number 10.
Number 9, but yeah, the last place.
Excuse me, number 9. Yeah. In last place at number 9. Because high cost, little value, cumbersome, totally get it. I think number 8 was HomePod, which also kind of makes sense. Not updated very much. Not a lot of attention. The voice assistant isn't great. Okay, totally get that. 7 was the Apple TV.
Yep.
Which, if you have to put Apple TV somewhere, I understand. Like, it's not been updated in a while. You can have that functionality in other products like the Google Streamer. It is way better than products like the Fire Stick or Roku TVs, but it's not like as important or as good. And they kind of said at the beginning of the show of the Vergecast, like they're just ranking as best, and that's a very all-encompassing term. Like best, just the best, you know, in all amongst the product lines. So Apple TV was 7, and then there was a lot of debate about the number 6 place. And between what was in the running was basically Victoria Song and Allison Johnson wanted to put the iPad in 6th place underneath things like AirTag, Apple Watch, AirPods, iPhone, Mac. And okay, if you want to make the argument about that, whatever. But the arguments they made to put the iPad that low, I found to be crazy making. And I was crashing out. And so
Literally.
I was literally crashing
All
out.
caps text messages, Jason, you have to stop what you're doing and listen to this. That's literally the message I got yesterday.
I told Jason, please do. So let me ask you this, because I don't if you have the rating there, how would you have rated that?
Rated the whole thing. I mean, I mostly
Deep
agree
front
that
end.
Vision Pro. Okay, so here's how I imagine there's like a triangle with 3 axes, and you plot the things where it's like Apple's killing it on this product. Apple, the product compared to all the other products in that space,
Right.
and then like how much you would care if if Apple didn't make this product, right? So like the Apple TV, fine. Like if Apple didn't make it, I could still watch Apple TV on my. I would find a Chromecast because I'm not using the software on my TV. But I mean, there are lots of other options available for that kind of thing. That's fine. Vision Pro, I love it, but also like, is Apple killing it? No, because there's not a lot of things you can do with it, right? Same thing with the HomePod. The HomePod, I think, has to go last, just to be honest.
HomePod
I
would be,
love the HomePod. I've been using a
Yeah.
pair of HomePods as my main home theater
TV
thing, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
But also, if it didn't exist, I would just use something from Sonos. It's fine, right? Spoiler
Fair,
alert. I've been
fair.
using the Arc Ultra for a couple weeks, and it's fine. It's great.
Right. Yeah.
So I would agree with the bottom 3. Maybe I would shuffle them just a tiny bit. That's fine. I would put the AirTags at 6 easily. Like I would not put them any higher than 6. Maybe I'd put them below the Apple TV, to be honest. Just
So
Go
I
ahead.
agree. And one of the things that they talked about on the show was the reason why AirTag should be high is because the value is immediately apparent to someone, and most people on the street, not techie, would recognize it as a product. If you said like AirTag, they would be like, yeah. And even if they refer to a tracking device that's not an AirTag, people just call it AirTag, like a Kleenex or whatever. The thing is, an AirTag by itself, the only functionality it provides that the Nomad Find My Tracker card doesn't, or any of the other Find My products, is the precision finding, which is nice to have the arrow on screen pointing to it. But as you have said many times, and I would agree, having your Find My device make a sound is usually more useful than the arrow. Because if it's in the sofa cushion, if you left your AirPods case in your pants pocket and it's in the laundry, having it make the sound is what's useful. I actually used that the other day. I forgot where I placed my AirPods Pro, and I had to make a sound, and I was able to follow it. So the functionality of an AirTag, a lot of that functionality is available in lots of third-party devices, but also an AirTag on its own is kind of annoying because you can't just put it on a keychain by itself. You can't just put it in a wallet by itself. Whereas lots of other products like the Nomad Find My tracking card, you can buy that one product, stick it in your wallet as is right out of the box, and you're done. It is the form factor that is the most useful. Chipolo had made Find My, things like look like AirTags, but you can literally put it on a keychain because it had a little loop on it. AirTag, you have to buy another accessory to put the AirTag on the keychain. If you want it with your wallet, like I literally have a special MagSafe wallet with an AirTag slot. So an AirTag, while a great product and very useful, that functionality is found in a lot of other products equally as good, if not better, and the form factor in those third-party products are better. So I don't think in any way does AirTag beat iPad, and I would say like you, I might even put it below Apple TV. So
I think I would definitely put it below Apple TV because Apple TV is undisputably the best consumer box that there is.
And also like every conference room probably in America, they're going to use an Apple TV. Because
if they don't have
mirroring,
AirPlay already built into the TV, but
but even AirPlay in a TV is subpar to AirPlay on an Apple TV. Like the Apple TV performance just makes AirPlay better. It makes screen mirroring better,
and it does make sharing audio so much easier because you're just sharing the audio to the Apple TV and then whatever it's connected in, as opposed to having to share audio Bluetooth to something and then audio visual like whatever. It is kind of a pain. So I would probably put the AirTag right above the HomePod. Maybe again, I love. Here's the other thing, other than the Vision Pro, which I personally like, none of these products are bad.
They're
right?
not bad. No,
putting it as 7th doesn't make it bad. So
no.
So I would put the AirTag there, put the Apple TV. Then it gets kind of tricky because I do think. Okay, so let me start from the top. I would put AirPods at the top by far.
You would put AirPods at the top.
100. I don't think you can even argue it when you measure it on those three things. Apple is killing it with the AirPods Pro. Absolutely killing it compared to every other product on the market. It is just insanely better, and it gets exponentially better if you're already using Apple's stuff. And on my third matrix of my triangle, how much would I care if it didn't exist? To me, that would be like it would be insane because there is no other earbuds that are as good as the AirPods Pro, and the AirPods 4 are stinking fantastic, and even the AirPods 2 and 3 are very good. And my children are still rocking AirPods 2, and they work just fine. So I don't now they dinged them because of the AirPods Max. I'm just going to pretend they don't exist. It's fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like even if you have the best product in the world, the fact that it has like the ugly step cousin is fine. Like it doesn't matter.
So you put AirPods as 1.
Easily. No question. And then I would put the Mac number 2.
Okay.
Because there's no world where I would give up my Mac before I gave up my iPhone. I know that sounds insane, but at some point, no. Yeah, I promise you, no. You would not do what you're doing if you had to use a Windows PC all the time.
Well, I'm sorry. I meant I would give up my iPhone before my Mac.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What you said?
That's exactly what I said. There's no world
so
where I would give up my Mac before I would give up my iPhone.
Correct.
I would use this Pixel 7a
absolutely
as my phone
100%.
Instead of giving up my MacBook Air or any of the Mac Mini or whatever. So that's 100% number 2. And Apple is killing it on the Mac. The displays on the MacBook Pro, insane, right? The Mac Mini, this tiny little thing with an M4 Pro in it is ridiculous. So it's crushing it. The iMac is probably the only laggard a little bit, and it's even still great. It just doesn't really have a reason to exist besides like conference
family
rooms
computer and front desks at doctor's offices.
We've already agreed there's no such thing as a family computer anymore.
That's how we use our iMac.
But we had that conversation though.
I know
it's
we had
just not a thing that really exists. Anyway, number 3 would be the iPhone. For sure. I don't care that it's the most important consumer product. I don't think Apple's killing it on the iPhone necessarily. And if I had to give up something, I would not give up my AirPods. I mean, I'd have to if I didn't use the iPhone, I guess. But
that's the other thing.
Then number 4 would be the iPad. And then number 5 would be the Apple Watch.
So I would probably not put AirPods at the top. I don't know. I didn't think about those as much because I was so crashing out about the iPad. I would not put the iPad in the top 3, and so I would probably put it where you put it. You put it at number 4.
Right. And then I put the Apple Watch it's like 4.2, to be honest.
Okay.
No, I mean for real. Like
yeah. So the reason why I need to talk about the iPad, listening to the Vergecast talk about the iPad, basically slandering it. Some of the pull quotes I didn't write it down, but they're burned in my mind. They said it's only for old people and kids. That was one thing. The other thing was they compared it to the Mac and how it just can't do the things that a Mac can, whether it's web browser or whatever. And then I also, now, way more credit to Snazzy Labs, Quinn Nelson, because he did a video on the iPad recently talking about how iPad software problem is permanent. He goes into super technical details about like frame rates and LLMs on device and comparing them to the Mac. But again, comparing it to the Mac, the iPad looks insufficient. Because you can price an iPad up to $2,200 if you get 2 terabytes and a Magic Keyboard. And so for most people, it seems like that comparison is okay to compare the iPad to the Mac. So here's what I want to say. First of all, the iPad starts at like $300. So to compare like the iPad as a product line as a $2,000 device, I think is like a misnomer. Like, I think that's a poor comparison to just say the iPad's a $2,000 device, Macs are $1,000 because you can get a MacBook Air M4 for $1,000. So we should compare these two and see how they perform. I think that's a poor comparison. Like, the premise is bad because, again, like I wish I would have done this before, but like you can spec up an iPhone to, I don't even know, like $1,600.
Probably $1,800 if you got the Pro Max with the largest hard drive.
So if you get an iPhone 17 Pro Max, which you can now get up to 2 terabytes, I'm going to do this math real quick. I'll get it in orange because that's how you do it. $2,000. A 2 terabyte iPhone 17 Pro Max is $2,000. Now, no one is making videos or complaining that their $2,000 iPhone can't do what a Mac does. No one's trying to install large language models on an iPhone 17 Pro Max or trying to run Death Stranding at 4K 60 or 120 and complaining that the iPhone should be able to do that. Why? It's literally the same price as that iPad Pro that they're complaining about, and it's still $1,000 more expensive than an M4 and MacBook Air. And my theory, my premise, is that people don't compare the iPhone to a Mac because it is such a clear example that the form factor is what you are buying. You are buying a phone. It's a device that you're going to put in your pocket. And so people don't even think to compare that to a Mac because you're not going to put any Mac in your pocket. You can probably put a Mac Mini in there, but you're not going to, that's pointless. So the fact that the form factor is so clear, iPhone versus Mac, no one makes that price comparison. And so step one of my crashing out an argument is like, I don't think the price comparison, judging an iPad versus a Mac and how good it is the right metric. I think that is a poor metric to do it. I think it's like a faulty premise. Any thoughts or response to that?
Well, I don't think you actually have to go that far, to be perfectly honest. I don't even think the Mac has to be a part of the conversation. Because
but it's always part of the conversation. Like, it was part of the Vergecast conversation, and it was a part of Quinn Nelson's video. And anybody who talks about the iPad and how it's weak sauce always talks about the Mac. That's why I wanted to address it.
But I don't think that was the conversation that they were necessarily making in there. They were just basically saying that, here's what they were really saying. V-Song was really saying, I just don't care about the iPad, so I can't rank it. It's like, there is no objective world where if you just think about Apple's best products, first of all, the iPad Pro, the top of the line, the Tandem OLED is the best display anybody's making, like, on any device. Like, you cannot buy a consumer tech device with a better display than the iPad Pro. Like, you just... You can't. It just doesn't exist. It's not. It's better than any TV you can buy, honestly. Like, the only difference is you can buy them much bigger than 13 inches if it's a TV. That's fine. It's better than the iPhone screen. It's better than the MacBook Pro screen. It's better than the Pro Display XDR. It's better than every other monitor. It is the best. And it is the only thing about the iPad you could ding, which is true about all their products, is like the selfie camera is not great. Whatever. Fine. Who cares? You can use a continuity camera. It's fine. But if you compare the iPad to, is Apple killing it on the iPad? Absolutely. Like, everything except for the base iPad will run Apple Intelligence, right? The iPad Mini, the iPad Air, the iPad Pro, like everything will. The iPad Mini with the A17 Pro, its only drawback is it doesn't have ProMotion. Like, that's literally only drawback on it. So the iPad Air, insanely good. iPad Pro, insanely good. The iPad Mini might be a little bit overpriced. Let's just be perfectly honest. Yeah. It's a little bit overpriced. But right. I think objectively, you don't even have to get to the comparison with the Mac to just look at it and say, first of all, there's literally no other tablet in the world that exists that's as good as the iPad. And
so this is the second part of my argument or premise is that in the Vergecast, they say this is just a device for old people and kids as a knock. Like, that's a knock on the iPad. Whereas, I'm going to make two arguments against that. Number one, I don't think that's a negative factor. I think the idea that one device is the kind of perfect set of guardrails for a young kid and also a good set of guardrails for someone who's elderly and a Mac would be too complicated, it's pretty amazing that it could actually balance both of those things. That you can give a 6-year-old an iPad and they can start using it pretty much immediately. And same thing, after like 10 minutes of showing them around, like my mom uses an iPad as her main computer. She doesn't have a Mac. It's just an iPad. So the fact that it can be that versatile, I think is actually a plus, not a minus, and shows actually the value of the product. And then also everything in the middle. If you use a Mac for your work and you have plugins and you do audio production or you do whatever, like, of course the iPad software is not going to be enough for your needs. But like the iPhone at $2,000, the form factor makes it a meaningful and important device. I think the iPad and its form factor with Apple Pencil makes it a meaningful device for a subset of that middle crowd too. I edit every podcast on iPad. I've been doing it for like 10 plus years, or whenever the first iPad Pro came out. I've been doing it with Apple Pencil, and I have Logic Pro 10, I have GarageBand, I have Adobe Audition. I can do it in any app I want. I think I do it the fastest. I know I do it the fastest on the iPad with Apple Pencil. And so the form factor and use case of the iPad actually makes it a better device for me for doing that. And I'm sure there are many artists who would argue the same about drawing on iPad. K Digital Studio, the YouTube channel, she has an entire, her entire channel is based on like planning and Notion and GoodNotes templates for the iPad, because there's a huge segment of the population that prefers and likes the form factor of iPad and Apple Pencil to organize their life. And people like Fernando Silva, I know he listens to this show, edits all their video on the iPad because they prefer it. Christopher Lawley can do the video production because they prefer it on the iPad. And so the form factor of iPad is what makes it important for that middle crowd also. And I would mention this if I made a video about it, but like my wife uses it for digital sheet music, and so does every other professional musician. They use the iPad. Why? Try putting a MacBook Air on a music stand sideways. Okay? The form factor is actually important. And no, you don't need to buy a $2,000 iPad for that use case. You could buy the 13-inch iPad Air for whatever, $700, $800, and that's the perfect digital sheet music iPad. And so the form factor at a much cheaper price is actually what's important. And so my argument is saying it's just for young people and old people, I think, is a misnomer. It is for both of them, and it's incredibly flexible that it can do both. And there's a bunch of little use cases in the middle that unless you're in those worlds, you might not see the value. But I played in orchestras and used iPad for sheet music. My wife is a principal flutist. She does it now. Artists use it. I use it to edit podcasts. Lots of people prefer iPadOS. And that's the thing. Yes, iPadOS is limited. Yes, we just got microphone input in iPadOS 26. There's still some features that I would like. Yes, Safari as a web browser on iPad is not the same as Safari on the Mac. All those concessions I understand and I will accept. But the fact that it has a unique form factor, uniquely flexible across the spectrum of all the different use cases, I think it is a much more important product, and it should not be dismissed as much as it was. And to David Pierce's credit, he did try to defend the iPad in that moment, and I just wanted to make the arguments I had hoped he would have made in that show.
Yeah, and I know we don't want to talk about this forever, but I'm just going to say, like, again, you don't have to defend the iPad against the Mac. We're saying like it's 4. We're saying the Mac is number 2. We're saying the iPad is 4. It's the 4th best product.
Right.
The point is, you just can't say that AirTags are better than the iPad. That's insanity. It's insane. Literal insanity, because yes, there are a lot of niche use cases. Yes, we have a child who does not have a Mac or a phone and has an iPad that he uses, and it's perfect for that kind of thing. Also, my mom does not have a computer, and my mom is not old, like, just to be clear.
Right, yeah.
But she just uses an iPad because for looking at her photos, for backing things up. Like, think about this. With an iPad, you can have access to all your photos on a large screen. She has I don't remember if it's an 11 or 13-inch iPad Air. And it's like the M1 version, and it's fantastic, right? But like, she doesn't even have to have a Mac because it just syncs all of them wirelessly, whatever. So I agree. Like, the iPad is, I know that there are some people who would argue this. I know William Gallagher and Fernando Silva, that the iPad's better than the Mac. It's just not. But it is incredible, and it is the 4th best product that Apple makes after only AirPods, Mac, iPhone. I think if the iPhone wasn't the iPhone, you could probably make an argument that the iPad is actually a better product right now. Apple is killing it. It's better than all the competition. I'd be sad if it didn't exist than the iPhone, but I don't think the iPhone is still the iPhone, right? Yeah. I would not give up my iPhone for the iPad. I would give up my iPhone for the Mac.
And it would be a tough call for me because I've edited podcasts in every app, and I just so vastly prefer it, and it's such a key part of what I do every day. Like, it would be very difficult to give up the iPad even just for that one use case. But to the kid point too, like, my daughter will use her iPad for color by number, and that's great, and also does like schoolwork on it. So it is a device for all of that. My oldest son runs Logic Pro on my old iPad Pro and like makes tracks with that. I'll put his Bandcamp link in the show notes. You should check him out. But like he's making that, and it's both on iPad. And it's actually kind of wild that you can both get a $300 iPad to do the color by number and schoolwork, and you can get the $800 iPad Pro to do Logic Pro. And there's an iMac, a family computer, like I just mentioned. There's an iMac with Logic Pro right over here. But my son has grown up with iPad and just prefers using the iPad for Logic Pro. And Logic Pro, even more than Final Cut, is like the Pro app. You can also get DaVinci Resolve on the iPad Pro if you wanted to use that. So it is, I think, an important product. It is a great product, like you are saying, as far as the hardware. Software, again, there are concessions, but I think it's really good software. But I think it's an important product because it fits so many niches that it's hard to see the collective worth, because a lot of the niches are so small. I think people see kids using it and it's like, well, they could use whatever tablet. It's like, well, I bet you if you ask the kids, they wouldn't want to use whatever tablet. They would want to use an iPad.
Yeah.
And if you ask an older person who's been using an iPad as their computer, give them a Fire tablet and say, use this as your computer, I think they would also have a preference for the iPad. So saying just, it is not it should not be a throwaway statement that it's just for old people and kids. And finally...
Or that it's only for watching movies on planes, which is the actual argument that they're making.
Right. And like, it's also great for that. Just side note. But it is not just that. It is much more than that. And so, yeah, I think the iPad is a good product. I think it is a useful product. And people might argue, well, if Apple made a MacBook with a touchscreen or a MacBook where the screen came off and it was a tablet, that would be a better product than the iPad if it ran Mac OS. And it's like, I've used those combination devices. Like I actually used a Microsoft Surface for a year where the screen came off and it was bad. It was a bad experience. It was a worse laptop. It was a worse tablet. And I think that would also be true. Like even if you put a touch screen that you can use an Apple Pencil on a Mac, what are you going to do? Are you going to pop the screen off and use that? Mac OS on a tablet? That's not going to be great. Are you going to like hold your laptop with the screen on the desk and the keyboard sticking up in the air to write on it? You're not going to do that. For sheet music, like it's a combo device like that, tablet, laptop, like they've never been great. That's why those devices never succeed in the long term. You don't see like flagship combo devices like that, aside from Microsoft, and those didn't sell very well. So that's my argument for iPad.
Yeah, no, and I mean, yeah, the Surface tablet was good, but it's like it was fine. It ran Windows.
It ran Windows, but it was also like a worse tablet and a worse laptop. I felt like
because it ran Windows. That's my
also,
point.
wouldn't you, if you could get a MacBook Pro where the screen popped off and it was a touchscreen and you could use Apple Pencil, but it also ran Mac OS, would you prefer that? Right. Like, I don't think I would either. And I also wouldn't prefer that, but running iPad OS. Like, I actually wouldn't prefer that either. Like, I would want Mac OS on a laptop, and I want iPad OS on an iPad. And there are times, too, where I will take my iPad outside to, like, work, either just to write, build shortcuts, or brainstorm, because I actually want iPad OS's constraints. It actually helps me a little bit, like, to focus. Yeah. And so just that as not just form factor, but UI factor, I think is a point. So anyway.
Yeah, it's 4. It's absolutely number 4. It's higher than the Apple Watch and the AirTags, for sure. All
right, I'll have to get that out of my system. I don't know. Maybe I'll still make a video. You let me know. Because I wanted to show B-roll of like, look at all these things you could use it for. Like, anyway. Tell me about the iPhone Air. This is our personal tech segment now. You told me you're full-timing an iPhone Air. What are you doing?
I just stopped using the iPhone 17 Pro Max after I came back from the trips where I wanted to take pictures. And I'm like, let me give the 17 Air a chance. Both of these are review units. I don't like the size and the weight of the Pro Max. I just don't.
It's big.
I had a Pro of the 60. I had a 16 Pro. I had a 15 Pro Max. I went back down to the size of the Pro for the 16. And then the review unit for the 17 Pro was the Max. I don't like it. It's too big. It's too chunky. I also don't like that it's orange, but that's just personal, right? That's a personal thing. None of those are the only one I would say is a ding on the 17 Pro Max is the size and weight. The color is not a ding on it because I didn't buy this. I could have bought a different color if that's the case. And I will probably get my my personal iPhone here soon, and I kind of wanted to decide how much do I miss the features of the Pro if I use this Air for like a month. So I'm going to rock it until Christmas. I will tell you that I've already run up against the not having the 0.5 a couple times because there are definitely times when I want to be able to get a little bit wider angle on stuff. I have not really run into the, oh shoot, I don't have the 4X at this point, but I haven't done anything where I really would benefit from that. There are no outdoor soccer games. There are like that kind of thing right now. So we'll see. I do think that if I had to choose between having the 4X and the ultra wide, I'd have to default to the ultra wide. I think that's probably why the 17 has that setup of cameras because more people care about that. So, but I will say, I think the iPhone Air is fantastic, and it is so nice having a phone this thin and light. I think using it every day, I do want a case on it only because I need a little bit of extra friction, or else I'm going to lose it. It's going to like be gone. We have a chair that I sit in our living room that is like it's a nice chair that is. It obviously there's a cushion, but it is like pretty tight fitting, that cushion, right? So you don't lose a lot. Like I've never lost a phone, never even lost an Apple Pencil in it. Oh, wow. I've lost the iPhone Air like 4 times in it. It's just so thin and slippery. But I also like that the iPhone Air is slightly bigger than the iPhone 17 and the iPhone 17 Pro Max, but that it's so thin and light. So I think it's got a lot going for it. I think Apple should maybe run an ad or two. They might sell a few of them. I won't be sad if they don't make another iPhone Air because I'm not like emotionally attached to this thing, and I probably will still buy a 17 Pro, right? Like because by the time I buy one, I'm gonna like want to use the cameras again. So. Yeah,
that's the thing, and I keep thinking I should try the iPhone Air again, and then I'm like, you know what? It's fine. Like the 17 Pro, I don't know. The cameras are so good. I do use the 4X a lot. Like my kids are performing in the Nutcracker in a couple weeks, and I'm going to be like in an auditorium, and I want to get as close as I can for video and photos. And the 4X camera, like I'm excited to use it. I used the 5X last year, got some great photos and videos from that, and so I'll share some this year. But I think that 4X and even 8X is going to look great. So I'm staying on the Pro. I'm not. We'll see.
I like the Air. I don't know. I think I could recommend it to a lot of people, except I think that the base 17 is so good that I'm not sure why I would recommend this over that for most people with the price difference.
The price difference. All right. I want to record a bonus episode. I have an important question for you about review units. I want to ask you a bonus episode, and we'll talk a little bit about AI and Black Friday because I was definitely using it. But if you want to listen to our bonus episodes, get Primary Tech Daily, get an ad-free version of this show, go to join.primarytech.fm, and you can support the show there. You get access to all of that, plus our unedited feed, which has a long pre-show. And so we'd appreciate your support there. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. Let us know, do you eject your hard drives and SSDs before you unplug them? You can tell us in your 5-star rating and review. Thank you all for getting us to 400. And you can watch us on YouTube if you like it there. We showed a lot of stuff today. I'll try to do as many chapter artworks as I can to make sure it's visual for the audio listeners as well. But thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.